Hi, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing like a first impressions on a new Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette because I literally just got it in the mail and I'm kind of scared because the reviews that I've seen on like YouTube and stuff, most have been negative because they're not blending well and stuff like that, and I love the Modern Renaissance palette, but I heard that they changed the formula because on this one the first ingredient is talc, but the first one on the Modern Renaissance palette is mica, whatever. So I'm assuming that's why they're a little bit different, but I wanted to see for myself, obviously, because I bought it and I spent my money on it, so I'm really hoping that it's good. But the colors are absolutely beautiful, so I'm really hopeful that these will turn out okay. I absolutely love them. So I think I'm gonna do two looks with these, like one warm and then one like on the cooler side. But I just primed my eyelids with MAC Painterly Paint Pot, and before I start putting the shadows on, I'm just gonna set it with a little bit of powder. This is what I do for all of my eyeshadows because it just helps them blend easier when there's no like tackiness on your eye. I think I'm going to do the warm look first. So I'm going to start it with the shade Dawn, which is right here. It's kind of just like a tad bit warmer, I'd say, than like my skin tone. It's like a pale beigey shade. And I'm going to take this on a Morphe MB23 brush, and I'm just going to dip in. Right away I can tell that there's a lot of fallout, but my Modern Renaissance has fallout too, and that doesn't really bother me, so let's just see how this goes. I'm really nervous, actually. So far so good. This is a light shade, so I can't imagine anything being wrong with it so far. I'm trying not to be negative, but it's kind of hard when I like literally all I've seen is just negative reviews. Looking up close looks fine. And let's do the other eye. There is a lot of fallout in the pan, actually, more than the Modern Renaissance so far, and that's just the one shade that I've dipped into. Oh, sorry, let me zoom you in. And it seems to be blending out fairly well on my eyes, like any normal shadow would. Now I think I'm going to go into the shade Roxy, which is just like a light peachy shade. It has like a nice balance of pink and orange in it. And I'm going to take this on a MAC 217 brush. And, oh, this one is very powdery. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of kick up just from me really lightly tapping into the pan. So here we go. I'm just going to put this in the crease as well. And this is a clean brush, so there's no excess product on it. Okay, honestly, so far so good. I mean, I haven't gotten to the darker colors yet, so we'll see how that rolls out, but so far so good. These are definitely really pigmented shadows. I did swatch a couple beforehand on just on my arm, and they are very pigmented, and I can see probably why a lot of people are having blending issues with these just from swatching them on my arm. But on the eyes with the primer and brushes, I don't know why this eye is always kind of weird. Like I have like a weird vein that like kind of comes out more on the side, so this side is the side that usually doesn't look as blended, so this isn't really the shadow's fault. This eye looks pretty good, I think. Getting up close, everything looks good. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but I have like a vein right there, and it kind of screws with everything, makes everything look bad. I'm gonna try New Wave, which is just It's kind of like the color of like mac and cheese. It's picking up a little bit brighter on camera than it is in person. It's just a little bit deeper than Edge, which is like a true yellow. This is a little bit this is a little bit deeper. So I'm going to go in with this one on the same brush, and I'm just going to kind of focus this on the outer portion of my eye. Just going to blend these colors together. I don't really know what I'm doing, but just kind of going with it. Then I'm going to blend the excess that I have on my brush into the crease as well. And then I'm just going to go back in with that first brush that I used and just soften up any edges. Now I'm going to take a Morphe M507 brush, which looks like this, and I'm just going to use Fudge, which is a dark chocolatey brown color. So the only shadow that I can relate, like before getting the Modern Renaissance palette, I didn't hear anything bad about it because I got my Modern Renaissance palette a while after it first launched. I waited a long time because I just didn't buy it online, and I actually got it at Ulta in the store. And the only shadow that I kind of have trouble with in that palette is the shade Cypress Umber, which is the really, really dark brown shade. That kind of, when I first started looking at the reviews of the Subculture palette, what people were saying about the blendability and like how it was kind of overly pigmented and the fallout was extreme, that's what it reminded me of my Cypress Umber shade in the Modern Renaissance palette. Because it's just, for me, like I barely have to like dab my brush in it, like very, very lightly. And I have like way too much pigment, and then it kind of sticks on one area even though I have shadows already placed down. And it just doesn't really want to blend seamlessly into the eye, and it kind of ruins everything when I use that shade, to be honest with you, unless I use it in a very particular way. So that's what kind of scared me about reading those reviews online, but I am so glad I got it because I like to try things out for myself before I form an opinion. But honestly, so far, this isn't making me mad or anything. I'm just going to use the MAC brush again, and I'm going to really tap off the excess on Fudge, and I'm going to diffuse the edges a little bit. Okay. So do you see that kind of line it just created? And I barely had any product in my brush, and now let's see if it's going to blend out. So I'm going to switch it back to the first brush I used. When I switched to the MAC brush, it kind of made a weird line that was hard to blend out. If I look down, there's kind of like a bald spot right on that inner corner. I'm at the outer corner. I don't think it looks bad. I think you just have to put in a little extra work. I'm actually going to go in with the same Morphe brush. I'm going to go in with the shade All Star, which is this plummy shade, and I'm just going to kind of layer this on top of Fudge to see if I can blend it out. Take a flat packing brush. This is a Wet n Wild brush, and I'm going to take the shade Adorn, which is this kind of bronzy shade, which looks really beautiful actually. Where is it? Actually, I'm going to use a different brush because maybe that one's too, it's not dense. I'm going to go back in with the Adorn shade. So it's definitely not horrible, the pigmentation with a brush. I noticed that it created a little bit of a film when I was rubbing my brush in it, and this brush is clean. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but so I'm just gonna go in with my finger now and apply it on my lid. I just don't think it wants to pick up on the brush, so I'm just gonna use my finger. If you're willing to have the time and just sit down and play with it, then I think you can create a nice look. This is definitely not the worst thing I've ever encountered in my life, But so the fudge shade that I used, the only problem I had was when I used the MAC brush and it kind of just placed it down and didn't really want to blend it elsewhere, and I had that little bald spot. I managed to like mainly fix it, but I mean, do you really want to have to go through the trouble, to be honest? I'm going to actually use the brush that it comes with, and I'm going to use the shade Cube right in the upper corner. And it just looks like a solid white shade, but it's actually a white with pink reflect in it. Yeah, and it's doing the same thing that Adorn did, where it just kind of solidifies on the top. That's so weird. So, you can see that there's a little bit of fallout on my face, but nothing major, nothing that I would consider abnormal. I'm going to take the shade New Wave, which is that mac and cheese kind of color, and I'm going to put this on my lower lash. I'd say my least favorite out of the ones I just tried was Cube, which is the one I have on my inner corner. I don't even know if you can tell, really. I mean, it's pretty and it's subtle, but it would definitely see it, but it's just not as intense as it appears like on their Instagram pictures and all that, but that's okay. It just creates like this film of some sort. I don't know if you can see that. When I turn, you can kind of see the discoloration. And then I'll show you Adorn. So I'm just going to finish off this eye look and I'll be right back. So this is the final eye look for the first like warm, the warmer shades in the palette, and I like the way it turned out actually a lot, so we'll see how the darker and the cooler shades work out. I'm curious to see how those blend and stuff, but yeah, so I'm just going to go wipe this off and I'll be back. I just primed my eyes and I put powder down again. I do have some translucent powder under my eyes because I'm afraid that the darker shades will have a little bit of fallout. So just as precautionary measures, I did that. I'm going to start it with Dawn again, which is that neutral shade, and I'm going to use a different brush. I'm going to use the Sephora Pro 20 crease brush and just go in there. Now I'm going to go in the shade Mercury, which is this, I would say it's like a medium tone gray with like purple undertones, it looks like. And I'm going to put this in my crease. I'm trying to think of what I want to do. Yeah, I'm going to put this in my crease. Right off the bat, you can probably see that there's kind of like a line right above where I placed the brush. There's a line where I placed the product and it's kind of hard to blend it out. And I'm just going to start a little bit lower. This shade has a ton of fallout. I'm going to try to show you. Yeah, you can see right there that this shade has a lot of fallout, and I've been dipping in very, very, very lightly. I'm going to put Destiny, this color, on the inner portion. So I just charged my camera a little bit. So real quickly what I did was I took Destiny, this like muted army green shade, and I put this on the inner like fourth of my eye. And then I took Untamed, put that on the center. Took a little bit of Axis on the very, not the outer edge, but like right next to it. And then I took Rowdy, which is this dark purple, on the outer part. Now I'm just going to blend it, because I felt like that was... I'm going to take the same little brush I've been using, the Morphe M507 brush. I'm just going to go right in and start blending and see what happens. Okay. I'm still getting that weird line and bald spot. So I think maybe when you blend these, they kind of blend themselves away, which is kind of disappointing. We'll see. So something I'm noticing is that pretty much all the colors kind of mesh together, which isn't really something that I wanted. So I'm going to go back in, I'm going to use my finger, and I'm just going to re-intensify these shades. This is kind of the same problem I have with the Cypress Umber shade in the Modern Renaissance palette. How it's the pigment's there, it's just a little bit uneven. So I don't really want to mess with this anymore. I'm pretty much set on the fact that this doesn't really want to stick to my eye, as you can probably see. I am going to try the shade Electric, going in with my pinky. This seems pretty pigmented. I'm going to put this on the green shade. Alright, where'd it go? It's literally not there. Okay, there we go. There's something right there. So even with my finger, I kind of had to press hard for that to show up. This definitely is not... I mean, this isn't typically how I'd wear all these colors. I wouldn't technically wear them all together, but you can tell that they just didn't really blend as well as I would imagine. Obviously I do work with dark colors from different brands and different palettes and stuff, so I mean, I know how to blend an eyeshadow, but I don't know. There's something weird with the dark shades, at least so far. Also, this shade Electric, it kind of, alright, I don't know if you can tell, it kind of has like an indent, so when I press in it, it like creates an indent, which is really strange. It kind of feels like a Colourpop shadow, but with less moisture in it. It's really weird. These shadows are like kind of dense. It's so strange, but I'm gonna finish this look and then I'll come back and I'll wrap up my final thoughts on the palette. Okay, so apparently my camera wasn't filming the outro, which is great. So here I am with no makeup on after I took off the last look. So my final thoughts on this palette is, if you like the colors enough that you're willing to work with them, and you have a good set of blending brushes, then I'd say go for it. You might want to wait until they relaunch them, because they might do that like they did with the Renaissance palette. But I mean, I already spent my money, so I don't think I'm going to be returning this. You can definitely work with it. It's just, it takes a lot more effort than I think the normal eyeshadow would. The darker colors definitely are, I don't want to say worse, but they're definitely harder to blend than the lighter shades. That being said, they're very pigmented, and you do need to like really tap your brush in there very lightly and like get the excess off. But I don't know, I'm very much on the fence of this palette. The shimmers are like mediocre, and like the mattes are good, like they are very pigmented, but like I said, they need a lot of work and need a lot of blending. So it's up to you whether you want to spend the money on it, but that's just my review. I definitely had more success with the warm tone look rather than the cooler tones. So if you like the colors, maybe get it. If you don't, honestly, I don't think you're missing out on too much. Maybe down the line when you can swatch the shades in the store, and then you can decide for yourself whether you want to spend the money on it or not. So that completes this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks, bye!